What's up everybody, it's Lune here. I'm bringing you a quick Vermintide 2 video. This video has two purposes: to put some V2 content up and stretch the old movie making muscles, and to go over a few more things with regards to future content. The abrupt addition of EAC before launch and the corralling of mods to a split, progression-locked realm hit us all hard, but there's no reason sincere instructional material can't emerge. Coolguy asked me to go over specials, and that's just what I'll be doing. What you'll be seeing in this video are solutions to what he's told me he's seen and read others having problems with. But 98% of my Vermintide history has been with randoms, and while I may not have the same opinion he has on the matter, it's still worth getting out and doing something. Let's do this. If you've seen our Vermintide 1 series, I put up 4 non-commentary videos on the specials present in that game. The Gutter Runner is pretty much the same as it was in Vermintide 1. You dodge them, you push them. It's a lot easier to push them in Vermintide 2, I would definitely say. There's one thing you might be noticing now that's different in Vermintide 2, and they added ambient chittering and gurgling noises to them when they're within proximity of you. In Vermintide 1, they were utterly silent enemies. Coolguy told me to focus on the dodging and pushing part, and to remind everyone that when a Gutter Runner spawns, you need to dodge diagonally because you have no idea where they're coming from.
There's a Gutter Runner about.
Aside from just being aware of when the Gutter Runner spawns and being alert and looking around when it spawns, one other thing I want you to be aware of is that, unlike every other enemy that's vulnerable when climbing over things, Gutter Runners are very dangerous when they do this, as it usually skips their animations pre-pounce. Otherwise, if you've seen our Vermintide 1 series or have played Vermintide 1, it's no big deal, it's the same exact thing. But you can knock Gutter Runners off with any weapon now. You don't need to push them. This is actually what confused me the most when Coolguy told me about people having trouble dodging Pakmasters. Now, let me just start by saying you do not need a talent that increases your dodge range to avoid them. All you have to do is watch when they plant their feet and go into a hook and then just sidestep it. The game is set up to allow you to dodge that as long as you pull off the dodge in the first place. They're very, very easy to avoid. There is one other thing, though, that I think bears mentioning, and Coolguy said you could jump at them and that they do not handle fast movements very well. That is very, very, very unreliable. It is possible to sometimes jump at a Pakmaster and have the height advantage, but you're just not going to be able to avoid it very reliably that way. In Vermintide 2, firebombs also knock over bosses, well, blow back bosses, and they knock over Pakmasters as well. Active skills and critical hits can also save your teammates in the most dire of circumstances, so make sure you save those bombs. There have, in fact, been some very clever changes made to the gas rats in Vermintide 2. Our friendly neighborhood gas rat is still very pinpoint accurate, but the gas now spreads out from the center of the explosion. What this means is, as long as you're not in ground zero and you keep moving, you can actually avoid their damage fairly well, and they actually fulfill the role of anti-camping way better this way, and it comes off as a lot more fair too. Now, one other thing to mention is this is helpful when you're in the midst of a swarm and you've got specials coming down all around you. Each Globadier only throws twice unless you infringe upon his personal space, and they wait for their gas to disappear before they attack again. Unless, of course, you knock them to half health and they enter their suicide run. Otherwise, they're unchanged and they function very, very well. I know that might come as a shock to some people, considering it's Vermintide and all, but, well, that aside, they are still as much a danger to the slave rats as they are to you. Also, now that there's a moment to talk about it, you might be noticing something like infantry and armored and monster up by the name of the special. That's actually the type of enemy they are with regards to a damage versus stat you can get on your items, but that's not the purview of this video. There were changes made to the Rattler Gunners in Vermintide 2 that I was very happy with the day I started the closed beta test. One change they made really helps them stand out. Their first attack after spawning does not require them to wind up their gun. When they spawn in, and specials do spawn in line of sight a lot in this current state, as of this video being made, but it gives them a lot more presence on the battlefield, as well as the gravitas of their gunfire in general. They're more imposing, they do more damage, they shoot a lot faster, and they just have a presence now. They're not easily bullied armored targets anymore. And that's really all there is to say about it. They sometimes work in teams, they suppress the team, they're a danger to the enemy as well as you, and you can still block their shots with your shield. All in all, it's a good special. It's a really good enemy, and they helped him stand out a lot better in Vermintide 2. It's kind of a shame they didn't do it in Vermintide 1, but, well, you know. I guess the last thing I would say is that I really appreciate that sometimes I just have to take cover, and I really love the effect on their gun. The new Skaven on the block, the Warpfire Thrower, is armored like the Rattler Gunner, but he carries a flamethrower, and you can of course make him explode by shooting him in the power crystal. Now, I determined them to be ambush predators because their AI does flank you. I mean, you can see it right here. I have seen Warpfire Throwers camping behind doors sometimes, just waiting for somebody to wander into them. Now, they are, of course, a danger to the enemy as well as you. You have to be careful where you blow them up, because you can either turn them into a good choke point, or you can only hamper yourself. They can be a very dangerous enemy, but they are slow. They turn very slowly, so if you're a mobile class, you can just kind of dodge out of the way of it, if you've got the room, and you're probably not always going to have that room. But yeah, it's actually not that bad. They charge in, and they just keep you on your toes. They have very identifiable, throaty voices, so you'll never miss them coming. Now, this is something they changed in the latest patch. During CBT and a little bit later than that, if you ever tried to charge into them, they would actually push you back a lot harder than they're doing right now. But apparently a change got made at some point, and now it's actually somewhat reliable, although obviously risky, to take the Handmaiden or Foot Knight Kruber in and risk your own health in order to stop them from doing some damage to the team or open up a path. There's just a lot of tactical depth that gets opened up in certain cases like this. With the addition of Chaos, they also had to have a couple of their own specials join the fight. The first of them is the Leech Sorcerer. When these guys spawn in, they meander around, typically out of bounds, and wait about 10 seconds, and they will teleport behind players. They will always be behind somebody, typically during the heat of battle, and they will try to grab you, and then they start draining your life. But they are very weak, and they are very predictable, and they can be stumbled by any attack or push, thus freeing any endangered teammate. You should have seen these guys back when them teleporting actually did damage to players for some reason. The other half of the Chaos roster is the Blightstorm Sorcerer. He is a very, very frustrating enemy on open maps like Against the Grain because he can and will cast the Vortex outside of ping range. And, to top it off, he will teleport out of bounds after casting the spell, and the Vortex will go on its merry way attacking people while he is unassailable. Naturally, killing him will stop the Vortex, but, well, you gotta be on top of your game if you want to stop him from doing it. This is the other thing that you need to be aware of when a Blightstorm Sorcerer decides to rear his head, and why they absolutely need to be prioritized. The enemies they throw around take no damage, and the worst thing you can do in Vermintide is scatter enemies needlessly. That's something I always had to remind people not to do with their shields. But all that aside, if you are in any danger of the Vortex, just find some environmental props to hide around. The Vortex cannot pull you until you actually walk pretty much into the center of it. That's all there is for today. To be honest, I had to get a real kick in the ass to get this one going after several comments in-game from people recognizing me, and on the Fatshark forums and private messages, asking me to continue this. Future content is still very much in limbo. The mod tools are as rudimentary as the game balance right now, and it's not helpful to give a thorough overview of every class and weapon when patches and changes happen very frequently. We need to reach a point where things are finely tuned enough that the instructional material will stand the test of time, and the experience can be somewhat relatable. Even putting together this video required more effort than the V1 versions, I gotta say. Though I must also say, V2 even getting close to V1 in terms of gameplay and balance, I would say is a fantasy right now. The implementation of RPG mechanics is shoddy, the classes are at their worst more than they're at their best, weapon balance and consistent experience relating to it is a joke, thanks to the damage versus modifiers and the lamented hero-powered gear score system. Plenty of weapons have their own unique bugs yet to be fixed since the closed beta test. As it stands, on weapons, for most characters, you can find more reasons to blame your tools for your defeat than your actual skill level in this. And we haven't even talked about all the changes made to enemies in detail. I'm not sure when the 1.5-esque renaissance will come to V2, but I'm not going to waste anyone's time by becoming a fugue charlatan who uploads 12 videos a day on subject matter that is in constant flux. More than that, nobody's experience is going to be consistent. I'm also just unhappy with the kneecapped state of mods. But you know what? All of that aside, I think Fatshark can still turn it around. We had some really, really bad moments in Vermintide 1's history, and there was a period of months where they just went radio silent, and we thought the game was abandoned. But then it turned around. So a brief look at something like specials, which is a constant thing, is good enough for now. If it makes a difference in your gameplay and helps you make better decisions in battle, then I've done my job. I'll still stream the Twitch integration mode once in a while if that's your thing. But yeah, that's it. See ya, and thanks for watching.